So we're filming this to show you the design process when I buy an antique piece, and in this particular case it's the lovely American Pelmet or petticoat edge. I think it's actually a Pelmet because it has so much on it. So I've only bought this late in 2020 and it was shipped over and beautifully wrapped here, and it's mounted onto a backing, and not a very pleasant backing but very firm, so it's beautifully done. So this is the design, and I'm going to cover it up again because obviously I don't want to use I don't want to spit on it, or actually I'll just move it slightly further away. And I've drawn it out with a light box. So instead of putting this on the light box, obviously that would damage it, I've taken photographs without a flash, of course, all the way along, so that I've then printed that off. So that is this piece here. So it's not exactly the right colour, so this would be no good for colour coding. You always have to go back to the original piece. So I've taken the photographs, put those all together, put them on a light box, and then used acetate. And my 6-year-old granddaughter and I actually spent a very jolly hour just drawing out very roughly the outlines of the shape. So it hasn't got a huge amount of detail in, and that's just onto a piece of acetate. So I'll move that out of the way. And then we put the acetate onto the light box and drew out the pencil lines. So it doesn't take a great deal of skill to do that. The skill really is in the fine detail and the colour matching. So now I'm going to stitch onto this piece as a rough draft of the final. So it isn't that I replicate things once. I can do it 3 or 4 times before I'm satisfied that it looks like the original. So now that that's drawn out, I have to make the decision, do I want to have it on an even weave linen like the original, and then dye it with tea, or do I, to get this sort of aged look, or am I going for the linen twill? And that's a decision I'll make as I'm stitching it. The other thing is, do I make it slightly larger and work in an Appleton's range, which have a fantastic range of colours all inspired by natural dyes? So do I use these, and then I could safely block it and, you know, match up the colours to the piece. They've got lots of different reds, for example, in Appleton's, and that's always a tricky colour. Or do I colour match it with the Renaissance wools and use a much finer wool and stitch it more like the original? At the moment I'm thinking the Renaissance wools, but using the twill, which will hold it in place much better. So the next stage is really to colour code this using the Appleton's range because they have so many colours, and then to see if my friend Andy from Renaissance Dyeing can dye the correct colours to actually have this piece matching the original. So as she lives in France and I live in England and it's an American piece, that might take some doing, but we will do it. And it's exciting because you think you know something by looking at it, and I've done this many, many times, but it's actually not until you start stitching it that you know how the colours work together. So I will colour code it in a rough draft, but then I'll stitch it and I'll change everything and get it ready to create a kit for you.